Most cat owners don't have a love problem. They have a translation problem. Because the biggest mistake people make with cats is assuming affection should look obvious. A cat that doesn't run into your arms, doesn't want to be picked up, or walks away after a few seconds of petting can seem distant. But that's where people get it wrong. Cats are not cold. They're precise. And the ways they give and receive trust are so subtle that most owners miss them completely. That's why some people spend years loving their cat with full sincerity and still end up feeling rejected. Not because the cat doesn't care, but because the owner keeps offering affection in a language the cat never asked for. More touching, more hovering, more interrupting, more trying. Meanwhile, the cat is over there saying, in every quiet way possible, slow down, let me feel safe first. And once you understand that, something changes. Because bonding with a cat is usually not about doing more, it's about removing the tiny pressures that make your cat hold back. The pressure of constant eye contact, the pressure of being touched before they're ready, the pressure of having their space invaded in moments that mattered more than you realized. Here's what surprises people most. Some of the strongest signs that a cat feels close to you don't look affectionate at all at first. Sometimes it looks like your cat sitting a few feet away instead of on your lap. Sometimes it looks like they greet you and then leave. Sometimes it's just a blink, or a small head turn, or the fact that they sleep in the same room as you when they could have chosen anywhere else. That's the open secret most owners never get taught. Cats build love through safety first, and affection second, not the other way around. So in this video, we're not going to talk about grand gestures. We're going to talk about the tiny daily things that quietly tell your cat, you don't have to defend yourself around me. And one of them is so simple that once you start doing it, you may notice your cat looking at you differently within days. But first, there's one myth that trips people up right from the start. The idea that if your cat really loved you, they'd want more physical affection, not less. The truth is almost the opposite. A cat that trusts you deeply often doesn't need to prove it in dramatic ways. They show it by relaxing around you, by choosing your presence, by letting their guard drop. And one of the fastest ways to help that happen begins before your hands ever touch them. One of the most common ways people accidentally make cats uneasy is by treating petting like a greeting. You walk into the room, see your cat, and your hand goes straight down toward their head. To us, that feels loving. To a cat, it can feel abrupt. Not always threatening, not always terrible, but intrusive in a way most owners never notice. Because cats don't begin social contact the way we do. They begin with information. Scent first, then choice, then touch. That's why two cats that know each other don't skip straight to grooming or rubbing. There's usually a brief check-in, a pause, a sniff, a moment where each cat confirms the interaction is welcome. Your cat wants that same moment with you, and when you start giving it to them, your whole relationship can feel different. Instead of reaching right in, offer your cat a small introduction. Hold out one finger near their face and let them decide whether to come forward. If they lean in, sniff, or press their cheek against your hand, that's not a random movement. That's consent. That's your cat saying, yes, now we can do this. And this is where a lot of people misunderstand cats. They think a cat pulling away from petting means the cat is moody, unfriendly, or only affectionate on their terms. But of course it's on their terms. Real trust always is. A cat that has the freedom to say no is usually the same cat that becomes much more willing to say yes. That tiny pause before touch changes the emotional tone of everything that follows. You stop being a giant hand descending from above, and you become predictable, respectful, easy to relax around. There's another subtle signal that matters just as much, and most owners use the exact opposite one without even realizing it. Eye contact. Humans often use steady eye contact to show attention. Cats don't always read it that way. In the feline world, an unbroken stare can feel tense, especially if the rest of the body is still. So when your cat looks at you from across the room, your instinct might be to look back, hold the gaze, and wait for something meaningful to happen. But the more meaningful response is softer. A relaxed face, a gentle blink, a brief narrowing of the eyes that tells your cat you're calm, not confrontational. That slow blink matters because it removes pressure. It turns a stare into reassurance. And over time, many cats begin to answer with the same expression, not because they've been trained, but because they feel safe enough to mirror calm back to you. And once you start noticing this, you'll realize your cat may have been communicating all along in ways you were taught to overlook. But there's one daily mistake that quietly weakens trust even in otherwise loving homes, and it usually happens when the cat is at their most vulnerable. It happens when your cat is sleeping. They're curled up in a warm patch of light, paws tucked in, breathing slow, looking impossibly peaceful, and the human reaction is immediate. You want to kiss them, scoop them up, stroke them, tell them how adorable they are. It feels affectionate, innocent even. But for many cats, repeated interruptions during rest can quietly chip away at a feeling that matters more than almost anything else: security. Because when a cat sleeps deeply, they're not just resting, they're dropping their defenses. That matters more than most owners realize. Cats are both predators and prey by nature, which means their nervous systems are built to stay alert. So when your cat chooses to fully relax in your home, especially out in the open, that is already a form of trust. They're saying, without saying it, I believe this place is safe enough for me to switch off. When that moment gets interrupted too often, some cats adapt in ways that are easy to misread. They start sleeping on top of wardrobes, under beds, behind chairs, or in rooms where people don't go much. Owners sometimes interpret that as independence or aloofness, but in many cases, it's just a cat protecting their rest. And that leads to a misconception worth overturning. If your cat sleeps far away from you, it does not automatically mean they feel less bonded. Sometimes it just means they've learned that visible places come with too much disturbance. Give them more control, and very often, their location starts changing on its own. This is why one of the most powerful bonding habits looks like almost nothing. You see your sleeping cat, and you let them sleep. You pass by without reaching down. You resist the urge to pick them up just because they look extra cuddly. You leave the moment intact. To a person, that feels passive. To a cat, it can feel deeply respectful. And there's a second version of this same idea that matters just as much when they're awake: being near your cat without demanding interaction. A lot of owners think bonding only counts if the cat is actively engaging. If there's no petting, no playing, no purring, then they assume nothing is happening. But some of the strongest trust-building moments with cats are quiet ones. You sit on the couch, your cat sits on the floor nearby. No one is asking anything from the other, and yet your cat stays. That is not nothing. That is a cat choosing to share space with you while remaining relaxed enough to do their own thing. Cats don't always express closeness by closing distance completely. Sometimes they express it by staying within your orbit. That's why a cat lying at the foot of the bed, sitting in the doorway, or choosing the same room over and over again may be showing more attachment than people realize. Not dramatic attachment, safe attachment. And once a cat feels that kind of low-pressure safety around you, something else starts to change. They don't just tolerate your presence more, they begin to seek experiences through you. That's where love starts becoming more visible. Which brings us to the part most owners accidentally flatten into a boring routine. Even though for a cat, it should feel like the highlight of the day. For a cat, play is not a bonus. It's one of the clearest emotional experiences you can share with them. But this is where so many loving owners lose their cat without understanding why. They buy the toy, wiggle it for a few seconds, and when the cat looks unimpressed, they assume the cat is lazy, picky, or not playful. Usually, that's not the problem. The problem is that the toy is moving like a human hand, not like prey. Cats are wired for a sequence. Notice, stalk, chase, catch. That pattern is deeply satisfying to them. So when a toy just flaps in the air over their face or gets shaken in one repetitive spot, it skips the part their brain is waiting for. There's no mystery, no hunt, no reward, just motion. The difference is huge when you slow down and make the toy behave like something alive. Let it disappear behind a chair. Let it pause. Let it dart away. Let your cat crouch, hesitate, calculate, and then explode into action. That's the moment play stops feeling like entertainment and starts feeling meaningful. And this matters for bonding because the person who creates that experience becomes important in a way many owners underestimate. You're not just keeping your cat busy, you're helping them complete a natural behavior their body is built to crave. That often leads to a cat who seems more settled afterward, more confident, and in many cases, more affectionate. Now here's the part that ties everything together. If your cat is ever going to invite more closeness, it usually happens after you've done enough of these small things consistently. You respected their rest. You stopped forcing greetings. You softened your stare. You made room for choice. You shared space without pressure. You played in a way that actually felt real. That's when many cats begin offering something people wait months or even years to see. They lean in, not because you chased affection, but because you made affection feel safe. And when that happens, one gentle detail matters more than most people realize. The area many cats love most is not the dramatic full-body petting people go for. It's often the quiet, steady touch around the head and cheeks, especially the spots cats naturally rub when they're marking something as familiar and safe. That's one reason head rubs can feel so significant. They're closely tied to social bonding and scent exchange. In cat language, that area is personal, trusted, familiar. So when your cat finally lowers their head into your hand, closes their eyes, and softens their body, don't rush it. Don't turn it into rough excitement. Stay gentle. Let the moment be small. Small is where cat trust lives, because in the end, the real shift is this. Your cat was never asking you to love them more loudly. They were asking you to love them more clearly. Not like a dog. Not like a person. Like a cat. And once you start doing that, you may realize your cat has been loving you back for a long time. In the slow blink from across the room. In the nap they take nearby. In the way they greet you with a raised tail, then calmly walk ahead because they already know you'll follow. In the way they return to your space again and again. Not out of need, but out of trust. That's what makes cats so easy to misunderstand. And that's also what makes their love feel so special when you finally see it for what it is. If this changed how you read your cat even a little, that's exactly the point. And if you want more videos that help you understand the quiet things cats are telling you every day, make sure you subscribe.